Hello everyone, you are watching Community Hour and I'm your host Yuliia Kovalenko. Islamophobia is not just a distant issue, it's happening here in Winnipeg. As our city continues to grow and welcome diverse communities, Muslim women still face barriers to leadership, discrimination in public spaces, and challenges in fully participating in civic life. That's why the upcoming Muslim Women Courage and Leadership in Manitoba Conference is so significant. For the first time in Winnipeg, this event will bring together Muslim women leaders, advocates, and community members to discuss resilience, equity, and the urgent need for systemic change. Joining us today is Eve Satiriadou, the Executive Director of the Canadian Muslim Women Institute Family Resource Centre. We will talk about why this conference matters, the realities of Islamophobia in Winnipeg, and how we can move from conversation to real action. Hello, Eve. How are you doing today?
Hi, Yuliia. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, this is the first Muslim Women Courage and Leadership in Winnipeg. Why is it important to organize this event now?
I think this event, it signifies also the fact that today, January 29th, 2025, we mark the 8th anniversary of the Quebec shooting mosque, where 6 of our community members were murdered and 40 were injured. So in the light of that important day for all of us Canadians, we have organized our conference to be happening this weekend on February 2nd at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and bringing together Muslim women from within Manitoba, from our own community, that have been demonstrating immense resilience and leadership and achieving significant milestones for our community. So it will be quite an interesting, endeavor, as we're bringing in together folks that are politicians, individuals from within the nonprofit world. We're also bringing in educators, artists, so it's going to be a quite interesting and informative night.
Are you excited for these topics, for these guests?
Yes, we are beyond excited to welcome, very important community members from within Manitoba. Just like I said, we'll have Nellie Kennedy, for instance, the Minister of Culture, Sports Culture, and Tourism, being participating in our conference. We'll also have Amir Al-Wahabi, the National Representative of Islamophobia, flying from Ottawa this weekend to join us. And we'll have Hala Kofa, which is a Palestinian artist and a community advocate, not only sharing alongside a fellow artist, Niloufar Rahman, but she will also be closing and wrapping up the night with some of her poetry. So I'm particularly excited for that component of the evening.
Wow, this should be a big day for all of your community. We can see that Islamophobia is rising in Winnipeg. From what you hear from Muslim women, is it safe? Winnipeg is a safe city for Muslim women or not? Or why not?
I think in general, I believe Winnipeg has been branded in the last few years as one of the most violent capitals in Canada. And I think that goes beyond just the experience of Muslim women. I think just asking merely the Indigenous community, and most importantly, the Indigenous women in our community and two-spirited folks, of their experience, that goes back to how our community at large has a bit of an issue when it comes to dealing with oppression and violence, racism and discrimination towards vulnerable populations. That goes without saying that intersectionality plays a significant role in the experiences of Muslim women. Myself, as a white woman, I could never, fathom the challenges Muslim women of color, and especially visible Muslim women of color, are now experiencing on daily basis as Winnipeggers. But based on my own, research, my own identity, I can tell you for a fact that Islamophobia is a reality for many of our community members, especially since October 7th.
Can you share with us any particular stories that Muslim women face in our community in Winnipeg?
Well, there are, how horrifying can I be? How graphic can I be? I'll give you the easiest example. When I was going through my training as a high school teacher here in Winnipeg, University of Winnipeg in particular, I befriended a fellow Muslim woman. She herself was a visible Muslim woman of color. She wore the hijab and is from Mauritania. So just speaking into the experiences of my friend in particular, she found herself in very uncomfortable environments within the learning spaces while doing her teaching practicum. But we also had stories of fellow community educators within the community that approached and disclosed instances of discrimination within their own school communities, and even students. We have launched a report on Islamophobia in Manitoba. I think 2022, in association with the Manitoba Islamic Association, and within that report, we have testimonials of parents disclosing the horrifying stories of their underage children that had their hijabs ripped off in Manitoba classrooms. So this is not something to overlook, and it happened a few years ago. Again and again, we are faced as a community with instances of immense ignorance, and ultimately that leads to lethal and violence, as we have seen in the case of the Quebec City mosque shooting.
Yeah, unfortunately, hate crimes against Muslim women, particularly those who wear hijabs, these situations, we can hear them more often, not just in Winnipeg, but across Canada. So yeah, this story is just terrific, and I hope with this conference, with that we bring these topics more often, we will fight this issue and our community will be more healthy and our Muslim women will be heard.
I'm hoping so, because this is an opportunity for our whole community to really take a moment and pause and sort of recognize the exemplary work of Muslim women within our own community. Like I said, we have folks such as Nellie Kennedy, we have Sadaf Ahmed, who is the NCCM advocacy officer here in Manitoba, who was working and lobbying for so long for our community to get where we are with regards to the Manitoba government recently announcing the anti-Islamophobia working group, which I'm personally part of alongside Sadaf, and many of the community members that will be part of our conference on Sunday. So I think this is an opportunity for all of us, Muslims and non-Muslims, to sort of recognize some of the women within our community, their work they have been doing in their advocacy work, and how that sort of perhaps furthers human rights as a whole, as an agenda that impacts everyone. And this is what I'm hoping that can highlight with this opportunity, right? Yeah. The similar conversations, the similar concerns, the similar challenges we're all facing, especially as women within the working industry, within fighting every day for what is for ours and what is meant to be for our community.
Yeah, community organizations often step in where government policies fall short. The Canadian Muslim Women Institute has been a key resource for women to navigate discrimination, job insecurity, also social isolation. Can you tell us about the work your organization does to empower Muslim women and counteract Islamophobia? What challenges do you face?
So as a family resource center, we deal with clients that are coming in either as individuals or as a whole, as a unit, bringing in alongside their little ones. So just to give you a more broader perspective, when you walk through our doors, we make sure that you have a culturally wrapped around sort of system, that all of your needs are sort of addressed. We offer employment services. We have been doing that specifically for immigrant and newcomer women for the last 5 years, but unfortunately with the recent IRCC budget cuts, our organization was also impacted, and therefore we will be reimagining our employment programs and hoping that we can also extend them to the men in our community, not just women this time. Again, we are focusing on 3 different areas. We have a culinary training, a sewing enterprise, where we give them sewing training and within this sort of field. And then we also have a childcare program. So we train clients on how to become childcare assistants and providers. But we also offer financial empowerment services to our communities. We help clients navigate, the bureaucratic system and access services and benefits that could perhaps assist them navigating difficult circumstances. We also have legal clinics that we host twice a month, where people can meet with our lawyers for free consultation. We also have gender-based violence programming that now is extended beyond just the women in our community. We started a program, and the women found it very, very helpful and beneficial, and they inquired whether their spouses could take it. So we kind of mirror that for newcomer and immigrant and low-income men in our community to be able to access, mental health and healthy relationships programming. We also started a new program recently, which is a combination of financial empowerment programs and our healthy relationship programming, which is essentially introducing to families as a unit how to best manage their finances while also avoiding instances that could lead to domestic violence or intense dispute within the couples. So that's I'm very excited about this program because we are offering it in different languages, in first languages. So we do Somali, we do Arabic, we do obviously English, French, we do Ukrainian.
Wow.
It's all based on request. If the community comes together and say we are, let's say 5-10 of us who want to take this program, and this is the language we require, we will make sure to translate the material and find an instructor that has the skills. But we also provide services in multiple different languages within our center because we're such a diverse team. We're maybe like 9-10 different languages within our center, so it's quite easy to get things rolling. We have an outreach coordinator that works with high needs families, whether they are engaging with the CFS system or the criminal system, or criminal, not justice. This is not justice. Justice system. Don't get me started. Anyways, and then we also help them with. We have a donation center, so we have emergency food where clients can come and request access to emergency items aside from food and hygiene products. They can get free donations, whether that is household items or clothes. We do a food bank, halal food bank, twice a month with the help of Winnipeg Harvest. And right now we are launching our second social enterprise. So we have a social enterprise in sewing where we train locally women in production, and then we hire them and we produce orders for the community. So we have created school uniforms. We have we've launched our own burkini line, like modest swimwear. We do all sorts of workshops. And now out of our own culinary edge program, we are working in catering culturally relevant food and halal food to our community. We're trying to give it a spin of a halal bakery. So there are a lot of things happening in our center. We're always trying to engage with the community, get a vibe, a pulse of what's happening and how we can fill the need.
Wow, it's really impressive. How much do you guys do for the community? And what's the program are the most in demand?
Wow. I would probably say the childcare training program has been the one that has been in demand, and the one that the government cut the first. So it was one of the first programs that has been sliced by IRCC, and it's quite difficult to find funding that comes specifically for childcare programming associated. Something that is unique about our program is that for every employment training, we also offer free childcare services to the parents that want to take it. Also, any sort of program that people want to take, whether it's a healthy relationships class or a financial empowerment class, we offer them bus tickets. There's always food for them accessible. So we try to make it as accessible as possible, and free childcare, of course.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's why your guys' such a big community. Like,
we are a big organization, and it's quite a misconception. Now, many folks know that despite our name being called Canadian Muslim Women's Institute Family Resource Center, we serve everyone, and that our name is quite a reflection of our leadership. So our board of directors are all Muslim women, and obviously the executive director myself. I am also a Muslim woman, and yet our team is very diverse. We have folks practicing all sorts of different faiths and spiritual paths, and of all sorts of walks of life. I told you in the very beginning, I am a Greek immigrant. And my colleagues we are all from all over the world. So when you come in, there's so many different perspectives and so many different experiences, because quite an overwhelming amount of us have been either immigrants or refugees in Canada. So we really know what it is like to be a newcomer here and trying to navigate a space.
It's great to know that not only Muslim women can ask for help.
Anyone. Anyone. And especially our donation center is accessed by the whole community at large. We never ask particular questions around your faith or anything like that. You come in, you tell me what you need, we'll make sure we do our best to get that to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get back to our conversation about Muslim women in leadership and diversity. Muslim women are often left out of the picture when it comes to leadership, and some say it's because of biased decision makers just don't see them as leaders. Others believe that the system itself makes it nearly impossible to fit in. From what you see, is it about exclusion, lack of opportunity, or something deeper?
I think it's a combination of multiple diverse reasons contributing to that, but I am hoping that through this conference we can magnify the exceptional work that Muslim women have been doing in our community, and the ways that they themselves cultivated spaces and opportunities to make their voices heard. We will hear from, for instance, Tasneem Valley and Ruhin Aziz. They're both have been actively involved with the Manitoba Islamic Association, women that have been doing exceptional work in our community, and they will be touching on their perspective, for instance, and their own experience as Muslim women, professionals, mothers, immigrants, and how workers ultimately, and how they have managed to find time and opportunities to contribute to the community. So I'm very, very excited, because I think a lot of this misconceptions will be deconstructed when looking into the fact that there are Muslim women leaders out there. They have been doing quite an incredible work for years and years and years, and this is an opportunity to pause and reflect on that and celebrate them, and also recognize how difficult it is to be doing the work we are doing in this community.
Even with the challenges, there are Muslim women in Winnipeg that are making a real impact in politics, in business, in community work. We talk about hate crime stories here in Winnipeg, but can you share with us someone who has paved the way and succeed?
Within our own community, a Muslim woman. I'll give you an example of something very intimate, perhaps something some intimate story from within our own organization. We have been working with a lady that approached our centers, expressed interest in taking our culinary program, our training, which she started, and at the meantime, we have also been supporting her with her little girl, the little one that had joined our childcare program. So with that being said, we eventually came to discover that our student was an exceptional baker. He had this mad skills in the kitchen. So we were able to navigate some of the technical challenges with her finding childcare in order to be able to give her a contract. And now she's part of our culinary edge team as a new immigrant who just landed in Canada, navigating all sorts of challenges, as a young mother with a very young child that was, I have to say, highly dependent on her. Considering a lot of us don't consider the anxiety that entails when someone leaves their country, their loved ones behind. They have to pave a new life in Canada. So all these like stories of success in our community don't necessarily have to happen in, you know, a big podium for us to celebrate. It happens in small, it happens in the shadows. And I think that's also important to recognize of the little steps, or perhaps the big steps that Muslim women make in their own ways, navigating and making space for themselves and cultivating opportunities to further their lives and their families' lives.
I think the stories like this, we should make them heard and spread, because I think they are very inspirational for other women, and not just we should hear this like the hate crime stories about Muslim women all the time, but also the story of success, so it will inspire others.
We will also hear from Isha Khan, the director of the museum at the conference, who's also another incredible example of a Muslim woman in leadership, and we can see that within the trajectory of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in the last few years, since she has taken up that role. So I think looking into the guest speakers for the event, each one of them has a unique story and a unique perspective. I will be also presenting in company with Adila Adams, which is an incredible educator in our community. For years and years, he has been organizing interfaith iftars. Ramadan is coming, as you know, and now our community is preparing for fasting. And after a long day of fasting, we usually tend to come together as a community and break the fast and break bread. So she has been an instrumental figure in organizing this interfaith iftars for non-Muslim teachers and Muslim teachers in the Muslim community to come together and break bread and have conversations.
Yeah.
Even during the pandemic, she was able to pull through that. So again, these are stories and women that we might not necessarily have seen on the TV or read about them in books or studied about them in universities, but they are making real change in our community. So I think this is why it's so important for us to pause as a community and hear them out, celebrate them, and because it takes so much out of you. So much out of you. And
Thank you for sharing this story, these beautiful examples.
Thank you for...
Yeah. We often hear that confidence and hard work are the keys to success, but what happens when the system itself is built to keep certain people out? It's one thing to say, just believe in yourself, but what if the doors remain closed no matter how hard you try? Do you think empowerment is a personal journey, or does real change require breaking down systematic barriers?
It's a personal, but also a collective journey. You can't, like you said, if there is a systemic discrimination, systemic oppression in place, one individual themselves cannot undo the damage and cannot break the barriers. But as a community collectively coming together and identifying these barriers and identifying the similarities between our communities, this is also why I think this conference is very important. Because in a way, as a community, despite our spiritual affiliations or inclinations, we can at least pause and listen to the challenges and the experience of the Muslim women and recognize what are the similarities, what I have been through and it's similar to them, and what ways did I discover to navigate the challenge that I experienced, and perhaps how can we learn from each other and exchange skills and tools in order to undo systemic discrimination, systemic oppression and violence, which is characteristic of Canada, contemporary Canada. Let's not fool ourselves.
This is the first event of its kind in Winnipeg, so this is a big moment. It's creating space for conversation that rarely happen on its scale, and it's great. Representation is powerful, and seeing other Muslim women leading can inspire the next generation. What do you hope this conference sparks?
Well, I really, really hope that out of this opportunity of us all coming together, we will be able to cultivate more opportunities for collaboration. I really firmly believe that we need to come together as a community despite our like I said, different spiritual affiliations or whatever sort of differences we might have, keeping us operating in silos and find ways to collaborate and work collectively. I think, just like you mentioned previously, right? Muslim women oftentimes we find ourselves operating in the shadows or not necessarily having opportunities to be as recognized. So out of this endeavor, I'm hoping that we will mirror this event across the entire country, and this is the plan. So we have done one in Vancouver, British Columbia, which was the first one that kickstarted this whole, domino effect. Now we're here in Winnipeg and we're hosting it. The next one, inshallah, will be in Toronto, and hopefully we can mirror that across the country and sort of highlight some of these voices, and even more so, identify the communities that are willing to come together and collaborate on a national level. I think this is what the Muslim community has been discussing even more so in the light of, Trump's inauguration and the fact that here in Canada, we are feeling the heat of what's happening across the border. So with that syllogism, I think as a community, we need to cultivate these opportunities, right, in order to discover who are our allies, who are our friends, and how can we all work together across different provinces.
So Islamophobia isn't just a Muslim issue. As you mentioned, this is a collaborative work. Real allyship is about action, not just words. What can non-Muslim do to support their Muslim neighbors in everyday life?
I think something to understand that a lot of folks perhaps not necessarily comprehend is that Islamophobia is yet another form of racism. Of course, it is very much rooted into the colonization of Muslim majority lands, and therefore requires a decolonial or anti-colonial action. So once again, these are overlapping themes and overlapping ideas that are shared across communities that are navigating different forms of bigotry and oppression. Colonization, for instance, is a shared experience between the Indigenous community of Canada and the Muslim community that in many cases have been exiled from their own homelands, forced into immigration or mass immigration, became refugees, have come and landed in North America only to be told that there is no space for them to exist here and they should go back home. Once again, I think the focus should be on the overlapping similarities between anti-Muslim racism and other forms of oppression and violence. And how can we extract similar approaches in dealing with this circumstances and mirror that? So it is a collective responsibility as a community. If you are witnessing acts of Islamophobia, comments, passive aggressive comments, that's the most common way that Islamophobia is manifested, and with passive aggressive comments that a lot of times leave the survivor, because I don't like the word victim, leave the survivor in question and confused, like, did this really happen? Did that person intended to be rude or racially profile me, or and again, I'm a white woman, I can't talk for that experience. But all of us have to contribute to this. And my white friends, my white folks need to deal with white guilt and need to be able to put that aside, because it's making us sit on the sidelines. We are over consumed by white guilt and the fact that this doesn't concern us, and I think we need to, as a community, to recognize that this is a collective issue. And when one community's rights are in danger, it's a domino effect. Like we see it across the border. It's happening with Trump. He started coming after the immigrants, after the queer community. He's ultimately going to come for the average middle class man, whether they can see it now or not. So, it's a collective responsibility. Yeah,
and the conversations like this are really matters, but what really counts is what happens afterward. So what's the one takeaway you want people to leave with the conference? If they could do just one thing differently after the event, what should they do?
Well, I hope that the participants and folks that decide to join us this Sunday at the conference, something that they take away out of this is that Muslim women in our community have been working hard for years and years and years, and they have been significant contributors in furthering the circumstances and the furthering our or enhancing our living conditions as a community at large. They are highly educated and highly involved in the community. I think come to this conference and all of your misconceptions about Islam and Muslim women will be dissolved, because you will get to see for yourself the diversity within the panel. There will be Muslim women with a hijab, Muslim women without the hijab, Muslim women that look like me, Muslim women that don't look like me. You know what I mean? There will be a diversity of all of us coming from different walks of life. Like I said, I'm an immigrant, a Greek woman. Some of my colleagues will be presenting as coming from the South Asian lenses, as immigrants or refugees, or even as born Canadians of second and third generation. So you will get to see the diversity and the different flavors of Muslims in our community. We are a very diverse community. And I think you can get to see that from our panel, from our guest speakers. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Eve, for this conversation and for insights. It's been really eye-opening and really important. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
For those listening, I'd love to invite you to the Muslim Women Courage and Leadership in Manitoba Conference on Sunday, February 2nd, 2025 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. This will be a powerful event featuring inspiring speakers and meaningful discussions on advocacy, leadership, and combating Islamophobia. This has been Community Hour, and I'm Yuliia Kovalenko. A huge thank you to our guest Eve Satiriadou for joining us today and sharing such valuable perspectives. Hope to see you all at the conference.